The year 2022 bore witness to a series of unimaginable horrors as several criminal organizations orchestrated some of the most deadly executions ever recorded. As a result, wars between rival drug cartels and clashes with authorities increased and, without a doubt, claimed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people in South America. But what is more terrifying is the way these executions were carried out. From beheadings, dismemberments, disembowelment, and other types of gruesome executions, here are some of Cartel's deadliest executions that happened in 2022. Broken promises. In recent years, the state of Michoacán in south-central Mexico has been grappling with the concerning issue of the pervasive presence of cartels. This challenge has plagued the region since the early 2010 as the cartels operating in Michoacán have cunningly exploited the thriving avocado trade, a crucial lifeline for the state's economy and its proud heritage. The dominant cartels in the then area were La Familia Michoacana and Los Caballeros Templarios, both originating locally after incursions by Los Zetas and the Gulf Cartel. In early 2022, Tuzantla was marred by a distressing incident of cartel violence. It began with an ambush targeting Mexican government arms inspectors who were conducting raids on homes suspected of harboring cartel members. The situation escalated further on August 24th when a significant gunfight erupted at approximately 2 p.m. local time in the peaceful town of Yerba Buena before spreading to the town square of Tuzantla. According to Animal Politico, the armed confrontation occurred after hitmen descended upon the town in a convoy of vehicles, actively pursuing their adversaries. During the intense clash, 4 pickup trucks were set ablaze, while eyewitnesses revealed that the houses lining the streets where the violence erupted were raided by the assailants. As to why this happened, according to Mexican prosecutors, the original dispute was a result of infighting between brothers Johnny El Pez and Jose Alfredo El Fresa Hurtado Olascoaga, leaders of the La Familia Michoacana, and their former co-worker known as El Chaparro, the leader of a local independent cartel group. Unfortunately, 8 people were reportedly found dead at the scene in a butterfly sanctuary near Tuzantla after the incident, although Borderland Beat reports that it is likely more people were killed during the confrontation and their bodies had been removed from the scene before authorities arrived. In connection with this incident, 5 people were apprehended and taken into custody. At the time of the confrontation, the local police force had only 35 personnel available, underscoring the challenging circumstances they faced. After the gruesome incident, El Chaparro said in an audio clip that LFM leaders El Pez and El Fresa broke their vow with him not to extort the people of Tuzantla. He claimed that the duo had even made it as a promise to him. In the video, which has been translated by Borderland Beat, Chaparro directly addresses the residents of Tierra Caliente, Tuzantla, Benito Juarez, and the surrounding areas, aiming to provide some clarity regarding the recent chaos that unfolded. He said, "All of this happened because someone didn't keep their word. And why exactly is this? Well, I had a deal with El Pescado and La Fresa, but the terms of this deal we agreed upon weren't upheld. I accepted their deal, but I told them to leave me as an independent cartel leader, like I initially was. I respect all the different groups because they are all cartels, and they are fighting each other for their own various reasons. But not you, Mr. Pescado and Mr. Fresa, who gave me your word that my townspeople wouldn't be extorted." El Chaparro also mentioned that they had been living free from extortion here for the last 15 years, but he was surprised that after 15 days from their agreement, about 2 or 3 hitmen were sent to collect not just an extortion fee, but everything they could from him. "So, now it looks like I lied to the townspeople, but it's only because you lied to me. You made me look like a total fool by lying to me," he said. Other than that, El Chaparro leveled accusations against LFM, claiming their involvement in the tragic loss of innocent lives. He cautioned them about the extent to which they were willing to escalate their activities. El Chaparro concluded his statement by saying he just wanted to express his concern and that of his townspeople, who have suffered a lot in recent years due to the words of those who didn't keep their promises. Local authorities promised to investigate the incident further and to bring those responsible to justice. Grandparents' execution. The state of Sonora is no stranger to the violence and chaos that organized crime brings. It has long been plagued by drug trafficking and organized crime, with authorities working tirelessly to bring those behind such acts to justice. The tragic execution of 2 elderly grandparents is yet another reminder of the danger that lurks within Sonora and other parts of Mexico. In a horrific act of vengeance, a Mexican drug cartel carried out the execution of 2 elderly grandparents, aged 90 and 96. The heart-wrenching incident took place on the evening of August 3, 2022, at a residence in San Luis Rio Colorado, Sonora. Authorities responded to a distressing scene of a triple homicide. According to Borderland Beat, the victim's son, Felizardo, was allegedly involved in illicit drug activities and had drawn the ire of Sinaloa cartel hitmen. In an attempt to evade his pursuers, Felizardo sought refuge inside his grandparents' home, unaware of the imminent danger that would befall Maria, 90, and Pedro, 96, who were present at the time. It was revealed that their home had already been targeted by cartel hitmen in a prior incident, leaving it riddled with bullet holes. This earlier act of violence was seemingly intended as a warning to Felizardo for some transgression against the Sinaloa cartel, possibly involving selling drugs belonging to a rival gang or failing to pay the demanded extortion fee required to operate within their territory. Regrettably, Felizardo failed to heed the warning signs, and the repercussions were devastating. According to reports, on that fateful day, August 3rd, around 10 p.m., he was ambushed by the cartel hitmen, desperately seeking shelter inside his grandparents' home. Tragically, the hitmen quickly closed in on him, resulting in the loss of multiple lives within the family. The following day, the state's Attorney General's office announced that a sweep of the vicinity had resulted in 9 arrests, either of individuals suspected to be involved or found carrying illegal firearms. As part of the operation, 3 vehicles and 7 firearms were confiscated. Further investigations led to the identification of 4 individuals among the 9 suspects believed to be responsible for the heinous killings. These perpetrators were apprehended while traveling in a stolen SUV. According to the newspaper El Mexicano, their names were Jesus Ramiro, aged 30, Hector David, aged 22, Luis Alberto, aged 20, and Jose Miguel, aged 27. At the time of their arrest, they were found to be in possession of 2 bulletproof vests and 4 long-barreled firearms, which went through forensic examination to determine if they were used in the murders. It is understood that the Mexican government is actively working to end the impunity enjoyed by drug cartels. In a statement released by the Interior Ministry, the government vowed that it would take drastic action to ensure that justice is served and that all individuals suspected of involvement in such heinous acts are brought to justice. The specific faction of the Sinaloa cartel to which the 4 individuals belonged was unclear. However, Borderland Beat suggests that it could be either Los Salazar or Los Rusos, but further investigations would shed light on their affiliations. The tragic incident caused widespread consternation in Mexico, with citizens of the country calling for an end to the increasing levels of violence and crimes associated with organized crime. The public outcry has prompted various government authorities into action, leading to a number of arrests, as well as increased security in several areas throughout the country. It is hoped that the measures put in place by the government would help to combat organized crime and lead to safer conditions for all Mexicans. In addition, the government is attempting to engage with local citizens and civil society organizations in order to better understand the underlying causes of violence in the region. This is aimed to allow for more effective strategies and policies to be implemented in order to prevent such senseless acts from happening in the future. Retaliation against mayor. In a tragic incident on October 5, 2022, a group of armed individuals, allegedly affiliated with the Los Tequileros cartel, mercilessly took the lives of more than 20 individuals in the town of San Miguel Totolapan, Mexico. Among the victims was Conrado Mendoza Almeida, the esteemed mayor of the town. The shocking attack took place in broad daylight, specifically targeting the town hall, leaving behind a chilling sight of bullet-riddled walls, as captured in footage and photographs circulating through local media. According to Bloomberg, the Deputy Minister for Public Security, Ricardo Mejia, revealed that the assailants belonged to 2 criminal organizations known as La Familia Michoacan and Los Tequileros. Just before the devastating incident, members of the Los Tequileros posted a video on social media announcing their presence in the region and proclaiming their ongoing clash with a rival drug gang. They also mentioned that they were responsible for the tragic death of the municipality's Director of Rural Development, who was presumed to have lost their lives in a car accident just 2 days earlier, on October 3rd. San Miguel Totolapan, a town with a population of around 4,300 people, has unfortunately witnessed a history of violence involving drug cartels. The Los Tequileros cartel, founded by Raybel Jacobo de Almonte in 2016 after a disagreement with the leadership of the La Familia Michoacana cartel, originated in the municipality of San Antonio La Gavia within San Miguel Totolapan. The group earned its name from their leader, often referred to as El Tequilero, owing to his reputation as a tequila drinker. Before long, Los Tequileros gained notoriety for their menacing tactics of intimidation, particularly targeting mayors in the region. Initially engaging in kidnappings and torture of municipal leaders and mayors, Los Tequileros managed to coerce the support of Juan Mendoza Acosta, who was serving as the mayor of San Miguel Totolapan at the time. This alliance was a result of relentless threats faced by local law enforcement and leaders. However, it's important to note that the majority of San Miguel Totolapan's civilian population stood firmly against the cartel. In 2016, a small uprising occurred in the town, instigated by disgruntled civilians who took 17 alleged supporters of Los Tequileros, including El Tequilero's mother, into custody. The uprising concluded peacefully, although it left the city council vacant in its aftermath. The presence of Los Tequileros brought widespread devastation to the area between 2015 and 2017 until the demise of their leader, Rebel Jacobo de Almonte. In 2018, El Tequilero and 12 other cartel members were fatally shot during a confrontation with the police, leading Mexican authorities to believe that the cartel dissolved with his death. On October 5, 2022, around 2 p.m., multiple armed groups emerged on the streets of San Miguel Totolapan. Trucks obstructed access to the town, and the armed assailants, donning ski masks, launched 2 simultaneous attacks using SUVs. The first assault occurred at a private residence near the town hall, where Mayor Conrado Mendoza Almeida was hosting a meeting with municipal leaders. Tragically, everyone present at the gathering lost their lives in the attack, including Mendoza Almeida, his father, and former Mayor Juan Mendoza Acosta, Freddy Martinez Suazo, the Director of Public Security, Roberto Mata Marcial, an advisor to the mayor, Genesis Araujo Marcos, Administrator of Sanitation, Samuel Garcia, and Jose Antolin Calvo Caballero, both serving as escorts to the mayor, and 3 other residents of the house, including a U.S. citizen. The second assault unfolded simultaneously at the town hall, claiming the lives of 7 police officers and 1 passerby. Gunfire was reported in other residences and parts of the town following the initial attacks. Survivors of the massacre revealed that the entire ordeal lasted only 10 to 15 minutes. In response to this heinous act, Evelyn Salgado Pineda, the governor of Guerrero State, where San Miguel Totolapan is located, urgently requested an investigation by the State Office of the Attorney General. Taking to Twitter, the governor expressed that there will be no impunity for the malicious aggression against the municipal president and local government officials. Survivors of the massacre regarded it as the deadliest event in the town in 2 decades. With a total death toll of 20, the situation was so dire that a backhoe was rented to bury all the victims. CJNG versus Chaparro. In February 2022, a small town in Mexico witnessed an execution that led to the streets being closed and dozens of bullet casings left at the scene of the execution. The town of San Jose de Gracia became the territory that suffered the worst massacre ever recorded in several years, as 17 people were executed in the street and in broad daylight by a commando of hit men after taking them out of a wake. The town of San Jose de Gracia, located in the municipality of Marcos Castellanos, Michoacan, became the scene of the worst massacre recorded in 2022 and in the 6-year term of Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Around 7 p.m. on the 27th of February, this horrifying incident began to circulate on social media, but even before that, concerned neighbors had taken to Facebook, urging everyone to stay indoors. The footage of the tragedy was shared by a family who recorded the shooting moments before it happened from their window. They had also urged a member not to go out at all because of the imminent risk. According to the released images and information, at least 20 hitmen closed the nearby roads with trucks to the street where they would commit this massacre. Parking their vehicles, the men, some in tactical uniforms and others in civilian clothes, got out and took up positions standing, walking and kneeling, but all with their weapons and their sights fixed on the 17 civilians. Another group arrived at the home where a wake was taking place, and those who were inside were taken out into the street and lined up, with their hands on their heads in front of the gate. Some of the hitmen also investigated the cars that were parked outside the home. Later, they gave some indications to the group of civilians, and from one moment to the next, shots rang out. The Michoacan Attorney General's office said in a statement that it had opened an investigation into the crime. Several bullet casings from firearms of 4 different gauges, ranging from 9mm pistols to 7.72 rifles, 5.56 assault rifles, and 45mm handguns were found at the scene, along with a motorcycle and 2 cars in the same location that were damaged by bullets. According to the released statement, the location where the massacre occurred had been recently washed. No victims were found, however, containers of cleaning products were found in a bag, it said. The number of shots was such that the background music stopped playing, in addition to a huge column of smoke expelled from the weapons that began to spread across the street and into the sky. After a few moments, the attack ceased and the hitmen escaped from the place, although the authorities secured a motorcycle and 2 vehicles that had been damaged by firearms. However, at that moment, no information on who the vehicles belonged to were released. The state authorities began an operation in the street where the events took place, as well as in the surrounding areas, such as the border area with the state of Jalisco, where an operation was orchestrated in conjunction with agents of the Ministry Ministry of Defense, National Sedina, and the National Guard. Personnel from the prosecutor's office, attached to the specialized unit at the crime scene, moved to Reformer Street to carry out the first investigations. According to the data of their experts, the area of the executions had been washed and no victims were found. What they did find was a bag containing various containers of cleaning products that were presumably used for cleaning. All the bodies, without exception, would have been immediately removed from the place by the same hitmen who carried out the execution or by people related to them. The reason for the massacre was unknown, but it was expected that the authorities would reveal this information, as well as the criminal group that carried out this massacre. However, after the massacre, another criminal group blamed Ernesto Mascoro Martinez, the drug lord known as El Chaparro, and announced in a video that they would conduct an all-out manhunt in the area where the massacre took place. The video began to circulate on social media, showing various people who claimed to be part of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel and the Mencho Special Forces, with long guns, tactical equipment, camouflage uniforms, and covered faces. Our war is with you, cheap and traitorous Chaparro, for the events that occurred on February 27, 2022 in San Jose de Gracia, because what you've done can have no forgiveness, they declared, pointing their weapons at the combat position. They gave a list of pseudonyms against which they planned to devastate all their violence over the next few months. We're coming after you, Negro, Palillo, Pacharo, Chuy, Toro, Porfirio, Pecas, and all the dogs who support you, they said. To clarify to the public the rumors that are being heard, the CJNG spokesman signed off by saying, "This war is against Chaparro and his mob. We're not from Michoacan or from Sinaloa. We're the Jalisco New Generation Cartel." Mexican journalists targeted. In the Floresta area of Veracruz, a port city on Mexico's eastern coast, a chilling discovery was made on a Monday in early January 2022. A lifeless body, dressed in blue jeans and a brown shirt, lay on the street, bearing at least 7 stab wounds. Initially, it seemed like a failed armed robbery. However, after 4 days, the victim was identified as José Luis Gamboa, the courageous founder and editor of news websites Inforegio and La Noticia. Despite the inherent dangers associated with such reporting, Gamboa fearlessly published stories that often exposed alleged connections between organized crime and government officials in the state of Veracruz. A mere week later, tragedy struck in the border town of Tijuana, located south of San Diego, on the opposite side of the country. Margarito Martinez Esquivel, a highly regarded photojournalist, made a brief stop at his home before embarking on his next assignment. As he stepped out of his car, a passing vehicle opened fire, fatally wounding him. His wife and teenage daughter rushed to his side, but their efforts to transport him to a hospital proved futile as he succumbed to his injuries. Martinez, a seasoned journalist, dedicated himself to covering crime, and his impactful photographs graced the pages of local publications such as Zeta Tijuana and La Jornada, as well as prestigious international outlets like the BBC, the Los Angeles Times, and the San Diego Union Tribune. Throughout his career, Martinez had encountered numerous threats and physical harassment in the pursuit of his work, displaying unwavering dedication to the truth. In 2021, Mexico held the tragic distinction of being the world's second deadliest country for journalists, trailing behind only India. This brutal reality dates back to the late 1990s, with a staggering 153 journalists losing their lives and another 29 individuals disappearing. Shockingly, within the first 3 months of 2022 alone, 9 more journalists were brutally murdered, matching the grim tally from the entirety of 2021. Until Martinez's untimely demise, Tijuana had seemed like a haven from such violence, as the last journalist killed in the city occurred in 2004 when Francisco Ortiz Franco, a Zeta columnist, was tragically murdered in front of his own children. Sonia de Anda, a local journalist with 3 decades of experience and a close friend of Martinez, bitterly remarked that now there's a somber recognition that a new generation of journalists will have to confront the same enduring challenges. In the weeks leading up to Martinez's tragic death, Angel Peña, a local blogger, took to social media to accuse him of operating anonymous Facebook pages aimed at exposing crime within the city. These posts included Martinez's photograph, license plate, and other identifiable information, circulating through channels known to be utilized by local criminal groups. De Anda solemnly stated, "What that blogger did to Margarito was put a target on his back." Following his death, a series of narcomantas, homemade cloth signs used by criminal groups to convey messages, emerged across Tijuana, bearing the apparent markings of the local Sinaloa cartel. These signs accused a member of the rival Jalisco New Generation Cartel of being responsible for Martinez's murder. In late February, after receiving widespread attention from the media, authorities made 10 arrests related to Martinez's killing and Peña's death, although the majority of those arrested were not publicly identified. The investigation is still ongoing, and no formal charges have been filed thus far. During a local vigil held in honor of Martinez, Lords Maldonado Lopez, A prominent Tijuana television anchor known for her tenacious and confrontational reporting style took the stage. Addressing the gathered crowd, she spoke passionately about Martinez, stating how Margarito was always the first to arrive at a crime scene. She also mentioned how he displayed unwavering dedication, captured the most captivating photographs, and presented the most compelling information. Maldonado herself had previously faced threats, survived gunshots, and endured her car's windows being shattered. Undeterred, she declared, "Every year that the government and authorities do not respond to our questions and demands, we will remember him and shout even louder. We will never forget the cowardice of the very day that ended Margarito's life." Unfortunately, a few days later, on the evening of January 23rd, tragedy struck once again as Maldonado, having just parked her car outside her home, was fatally shot. In the days following her death, at least 3 men were arrested. Although their names were not disclosed, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador dedicated one of his daily press conferences to addressing the importance of bringing Maldonado's killers to justice. The 3 months of terror. In a revolting video from June 2022, unidentified hitmen were filmed in a wooded area alongside several lifeless bodies. Among them, one man donned surgical gloves and held the severed head of one of the victims. Borderland Beat provided a translation of the footage, in which one of the hitmen remarked to the others, "Take a look at this. Isn't it beautiful?" In July as well, some members of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG, recorded a gruesome act where they decapitated 3 men, sending a chilling message to a rival faction. These assailants went to the extent of assembling the dismembered body parts into a macabre tower. In the clip, one of them declared that this was the fate awaiting every member of the Pajaros Sierra group, as another person struggled to sever the neck of their unfortunate victim. While this happened, a captive male under duress was coerced into sending out a communique on behalf of the murderous CJNG. Within the first broadcast, 2 men in masks stood behind him, one of them holding a gun and the other holding the scared young man by the shirt with a knife in his second hand. On his knees, and with his hands tied behind his back, the young man conveyed a message which translated, "Mr. Mencho and the Jalisco New Generation Cartel is the boss here in the state of Michoacán and throughout all of Mexico. This will be the fate of everyone involved in bullshit." The doomed male's voice breaks towards the end in anticipation of his inevitable demise before the video comes to an abrupt end. The second video showed his beheading with a large, fixed-blade knife at the hands of his captors. Several emojis were purposely placed across the screen in order to offset the algorithms that would automatically ban the video from circulating on social media platforms. In addition, the song Clica Nostra by the Mexican rap group Cartel de Santa plays throughout the execution. The overall theme of this upbeat anthem references a dangerous northern Mexico mob who pays all thieves with brutal death. Over the years, cartels have employed various horrifying techniques, such as necklacing, which entails placing a rubber tire soaked in petrol around the victim's chest and arms, then igniting it, as well as the gruesome act of dissolving victims in acid. After watching this video, I stopped for a second to think, what dark secrets lie within the depths of cartels, their merciless power, and the chilling methods they employ to ensure their dominance? On August 6th, 2022, a shocking incident unfolded in Mexico as a prominent drug cartel orchestrated a brutal assassination. The victim of this heinous act was Juan Miguel Silva Alvarado, a newly appointed police chief in Culiacan. Tragically, mere hours after assuming his role, he was targeted and gruesomely killed. The incident took place while Alvarado was carrying out preventive patrols in the Tres Rios urban development neighborhood. He was patrolling bars in the area as part of his duty when a group of hitmen affiliated with the Sinaloa cartel intercepted the convoy. The attack occurred in front of an office building at approximately 10:10 p.m., as reported by Mexican news sources. It is worth noting that Alvarado's appointment came from director Pedro Cesar Rojas, who had only been in charge of the Culiacan police for less than a week. The Sinaloa cartel, known for its status as one of the most formidable criminal organizations globally and the most influential within Mexico, demonstrated its audacity by demanding the officers, including Alvarado's bodyguards, to surrender their firearms. The Sinaloa cartel has a long and violent history with Mexican security forces, and the number of attacks carried out against government personnel has risen in recent years. With this attack, the cartel has made it clear that it is willing to use extreme violence to eliminate any competition and maintain its hegemony over the region. According to media outlet Link Sinaloa, Deputy Alvarado, in an attempt to seek refuge, exited his patrol car and tried to hide in building 120 but was tragically shot. Disturbing photographs of his beheaded body on the roadside surfaced following the incident near the Sinaloa State Prosecutor's office in Culiacan, as reported by the newspaper La Silla Rota. The incident serves as a stark reminder of the dangers faced by law enforcement in the ongoing battle against organized crime. Despite extensive extensive efforts by military personnel and the police, the attackers managed to evade capture during subsequent searches of the surrounding area. However, a member of the public later discovered the firearms that had been taken from the officers under a nearby bridge a few hours later. On Sunday night, another significant discovery was made. A rifle was recovered from nearby bushes, leading authorities to suspect that it may have been one of the weapons used in the assault on the police chief or carried by the escorting officers. Investigations into this heinous act have pointed to two possible factions within the Sinaloa cartel as the perpetrators, known as Los Chapitos or El Mayo. For more content like this, click on the videos showing on your screen now.